This video contains massive spoilers for In Golden Flame. If you're planning on playing in this adventure, do not watch any further. Chapter 2: Fire and Ice. Well, listeners, we've had one hell of a show tonight, and I'll leave you with this thought. Been nearly 2 months since the devil Andros Capella vanished in a flash of light. But don't it feel like the afterimage barely left our eyes? When you shut them, can't you still see it? That phosphine, frozen in time on your retinas? Seems nobody can get Capella's dying glimmer out of their sight. Whole systems been awash in the names of the pilots who killed him, and the way I hear it, over both raised drinks and sharpened knives. What must it be like to be the pilots who killed the Hound of Hell? To most, you're a hero, scratching out a threat to Calliope's space lanes. To others, you're an enemy, a threat who needs scratching out yourself. But perhaps most unsettling of all, listeners, imagine this: to a very few people, you're something else entirely, a curiosity. Something that warrants further examination, and that examination could be the friendly chats kind, or it could be the insect under glass kind. If you're out there, pilots, if you're listening, stay safe. It seems like you're the main characters of Calliope today. This is Irvin Reed for Icebreaker Public Radio, telling you to stay cool out there. Beat 7. Trouble in Paradise. A month after the PC's return from the tachyon, Jerry calls them into the briefing room again. Unusually, he asks them to clean up, dress formally, and be on their best behavior for this meeting. When you enter the room, you notice you and Jerry aren't its only occupants. Sort of. The vid screen displays the flickering image of a severe woman in a crisp white suit. As you arrive, she narrows her eyes. Jerry adjusts his collar nervously. So, in case you don't know, this is Rita, station director on the Icebreaker Borealis. My counterpart. When she speaks, it's in a cool, level tone. Good morning. I've heard a lot about you from Jerry and from System. Gossy page word is we have you to thank for Andros Capella exiting the stage. Good work. I'm glad Hell's Gate is finally cleaning up its messes. Jerry looks upset by this statement, but Rita cuts him off before he can speak. Let's get down to business. Jerry says that since you sent the Hellhounds packing, salvage and mining crews have been able to get to work properly for the first time in months. Well, you're in luck. The Icebreaker is undertaking some major expansion projects this quarter, and I'm willing to offer guaranteed above-market prices for anything you're selling, raw materials, construction equipment, salvage, whatever. I'll even comp you and your freighter crews for a few nights on the town. I have one condition. Jerry takes a deep breath. You always do, Rita. Rita shoots a withering glare at Jerry before continuing. I want to subcontract your team. I have a sensitive job that needs competent operators. You're competent, and better. You're not working for anyone on the board. Bring your mechs. Rita isn't the most patient soul in the world, but she does understand the team will probably have a lot of questions, so she politely answers them. Why us? Like I said, you're competent. You're available. You're reliable. Or so Jerry tells me, at least. But most importantly, you're not under the thumb of anyone on the board. That aspect, in fact, is perhaps your most important quality. It means that I can convince the board to pay you. She rubs the bridge of her nose irritably. The board are a bunch of paranoid, squabbling infants. When anything, and I do mean anything, goes wrong with anyone's business, they immediately suspect a plot by one of their rivals. And let me clarify, everyone, and I do mean everyone, on the board are rivals. They'd never authorize me to hire any member's private security team for this job, and I can't trust anyone in the station's mutual defense force either. I need a small, competent team from outside the Icebreaker's usual sphere. You killed Andros Capella and beheaded one of the system's most dangerous pirate groups. Put simply, you qualify. The job? I'm going to have to ask you to wait until you arrive on the icebreaker for specific briefings. But in general terms, I suspect a plot against the icebreaker from an external force. Odd things have been happening recently, on station and in our orbital neighborhood. Power fluctuations, system intrusions, missing persons, traffic irregularities. Everyone on the board thinks it's someone else on the board, and yes, it's true, they're always plotting against each other. But this feels different, in a way I can't quite quantify. Things are happening that wouldn't benefit anyone in the station's current order. Customers are discontent. There's grumbling from residents. Seasonal workers are getting spooked. No, everyone's losing money on this. I need you to look into this matter and put a stop to it. I'm willing to pay top icicle to see it done. The pay. Well, as I previously mentioned, I'll offer guaranteed prices on everything your station is willing to sell to us. I know the gate is always in need of cash. I'll also open a budget for reasonable expenses. As long as you don't abuse my generosity too much, you and your freighter crews don't have to spend a single icicle of your own during your stay. I don't want anyone, the culprits included, to suspect I've brought in outside investigators, so I want you to be seen around the station, spending money like everyone else. It just won't be your money. Lastly, I happen to have better contacts than Jerry does, and if you need more powerful hardware, I can hook you up. Once I start seeing results, of course. Jerry's opinion. Jerry scratches his head self-consciously. My opinion? Oh, right. I mean, killing Andros Capella kicked the hellhounds real good. They're making all sorts of threats, but they're in no state to carry them out. The gate'll be fine until you get back. The militia's got this locked down. But we could really use money. And well, the icebreaker is one of our biggest customers. And they're offering guaranteed prices on our goods. That's pretty good, guys. Plus, Rita knows some people. She can hook you up with mech stuff we just don't have the budget for. She can be. Jerry pauses for a moment, as Rita's glare sharpens to a razor point. Cold sometimes, but you can trust her implicitly. You see just a split second of emotion pass across Rita's face before the stoic mask reasserts itself. Prior to departure, the PCs have a little time to spend on Hell's Gate before they leave. Since they're about to spend a whole mission away on the icebreaker, this is a good chance for them to engage with some of the gate's NPCs. Here are some suggestions for things that might be going on around the gate right now. Jerry's stressed, which isn't unusual, but it seems to be specifically related to Rita. If pressed on the issue, he admits that he used to be involved with her. But then he became station director, and a relationship between two station directors was never going to end well. Chief MacArthur is watching every single print job like an angry hawk. She says her vigilance is critical to prevent a repeat of the accident that nearly crippled the station. The print team say it's only preventing an end to the backlog the accident caused. Zinfandel is a little concerned about the threats the hellhounds have been making, and is stepping up patrols of Stygia's orbital neighborhood. Tarnveer Printloaf Malik wants to expand their selection of stims, which is running a little thin. The Dragon's Tooth won't be subject to the same customs checks that other ships are, which means it'll be easier to run product back from the icebreaker. Printloaf's willing to cut the team in on the profits if they help. 10% is fair, right? Samorn Patalung mentions there's a Horizon collective repair shop on the icebreaker. The Horus dorks who hang out at her stand have talked about wanting to knock it over for a while. Go and warn them, maybe? Striga von Aldenburg is inconsolable with worry over the PC's safety, insisting that the icebreaker is a wretched den of schemes, intrigue, and skullduggery. She's very coherent today, actually. All the plots and conspiracies that she's describing are well evidenced and verifiable. It's kind of unsettling. Then she goes off about how a secret apocalypse cult has started building a teleportation device there, and it's back to business as usual. If Ipswich Delisi has already met one of the PCs, they might ask them to deliver some signed merchandise to some fans over on the icebreaker. And make sure they're doing okay. It's hard out there if you aren't rich, you know? Michaela Omni document format has, like, a thing that they need you to pick up from the Smith Shimano atelier over on the icebreaker? Could you, handle that for her, Rad? Teka Ashanafi accosts a PC. One who he's on decent terms with, hopefully, and starts asking pointed questions about mining contracts. He's heard some rumors on the grapevine about a big job in the system, and he wants to make sure Jerry is putting a bid in for it. Give a general impression of how Hell's Gate is faring at the moment, depending on the status of the station's stability clock. If it only has a couple of segments ticked, things won't look great. Flickering lights, queues for essential supplies, jury-rigged fixes due to parts shortages, grime, and an overall air of melancholy. This isn't anything new, incidentally. This is just how life on Hell's Gate usually is. On the other hand, if the clock is at 3 or 4 segments, the PCs have been putting in the work, and it's starting to show. Things look a little cleaner and a little brighter. There's the parts and the time to make proper repairs. Shortages are easing and people can afford little luxuries. Citizens' lives are better because of what the PCs did. Make sure they know that. Beat 8. Jewel of the Night. The journey from Hell's Gate to the icebreaker Borealis usually takes about 11 days. The PCs travel in the Dragon's Tooth as one of the escorts for the convoy of freighters hauling metal ingots, polycrete, and salvage. Their trip is comfortable and uneventful, as the cloudy, sand-yellow sphere of Kalevala and its majestic ring system grows in your vision. A small, bright dot grows with it, perched high in orbit. Within hours, that dot resolves into a vast, tangled cylinder of habitats, anchored to the remains of an immense mining frigate. The station spills bright, neon light into the void, and local space is a hive of activity, dozens of ships arriving and leaving at this very moment. The Borealis forward mining bay has been converted into a giant hangar, and docking is a quick and painless process. From there, you take an elevator down the struts into the sprawl. In the grand concourse that marks the start of the Starstrip, a man is waiting for you, Alec, one of the greeters. He explains your hotel reservations, recommends several of the station's attractions, and ensures that you receive all of your complimentary gift vouchers. He then quietly informs you that a meeting has been scheduled for you at midday tomorrow, in the back room of the uncrowned King Bar and Grill. Until then, you're told to blend in and enjoy yourselves. Station layout. The station is built around the original CPS Borealis, an extensively modified Yabelo Industries Meter-class ring-eater. The Borealis is almost 15 kilometers long and once contained all the facilities necessary to produce several 100,000 liters of fresh water every day. She would periodically dive into the rings of Kalevala, chewing her way through thousands of moonlets, a task she performed continually for more than a century with almost no stoppages. Eventually, the strain of continual use exhausted her systems beyond repair, and she was placed in a stable orbit outside Kalevala's radiation belts. The original plan was to scuttle the ship and salvage her for parts, but that left a whole lot of people without a job or a place to live, other than Hell's Gate. That wasn't appealing, and so the ship was set into a gentle spin, serving as the core for a labyrinthine tangle of habitats clustered around it in a rough cylinder. Like Hell's Gate and other spin stations, directions on the icebreaker take the form of spin/anti-spin, up/down, and aft/foray. The icebreaker's cylinder is 5 kilometers in diameter and rotates about once every 90 seconds. Unlike Hell's Gate or Impact Plaza, the icebreaker wasn't constructed to any sort of template or plan. New modules, sections, and whole city blocks are bolted on as they become necessary, forming the sprawl. Struts anchoring parts of the jury-rigged cylinder to the ship's superstructure get added every few hundred meters. This prevents the wiggle, a hazard in which insufficiently secured structural elements flail about and potentially collide with other sections. The sprawl is loosely organized into dozens of districts, which range from a handful of modules to areas of the cylinder the size of a small city. There is no official definition for what does or doesn't qualify as a district, but a general rule of thumb holds that a district is an area that contains the holdings of at least 3 board members. Any fewer, and it's likely just part of another district. As the station grew, its tangle of modules became increasingly complex and time-consuming to navigate. It's only in the past couple of decades that it's gotten a reliable public transit system, which Rita had to fight tooth and nail for. Even the simplified map looks like something out of a nightmare. There's a tidy profit to be made for those willing to serve as guides, although visitors can also purchase a variety of navigation software packages. In comparison to the recent public transit system, the station has had a robust system of freight lines since its inception. These lines are built into the external surface of the cylinder, underneath the sprawl. The trains are automated, and it's a good thing too, since the sheer number of junctions, branches, and dead ends would make it impossible for a human to navigate. Most freight cars are large enough to accommodate a couple of size 1 mechs, or one size 2 mech uncomfortably. Life support functions such as water and air processing are distributed, handled by localized modules, and always with some level of redundancy. Given that the richer districts can afford it, air and water quality in those areas tends to be better than in poorer districts. Unlike Hell's Gate, there exists no station-wide ban on smoking or open flames, although certain districts may have local statutes. Locations. The Pocket Guide to the Icebreaker, available from any street vendor, recommends that a visit to the station should include a full range of experiences. The Icebreaker is large enough that just about any form of entertainment can be found if you know where to look. But here are some highlights. The Star Strip. Try your luck in the Long Rim's most luxurious gambling halls. Take a load off in unrivaled comfort at our Galaxy-class resorts. Bask in the talent of our exclusive shows and acts. The Star Strip. Walk the road to the stars. The Star Strip is the only thoroughfare to run the entire 10-kilometer length of the sprawl, in a bizarre path that twists, winds, and loops several times around the cylinder. It links all of the major casinos, hotels, shopping malls, and theaters. There's a saying, you're not on the board unless you're on the Starstrip page. It's not quite universal, but it's close. The Star Strip bustles at every hour of the day and night, a constant churn of people seeking excitement, distraction, or oblivion. Given the clientele is often ships making a stopper between Rayo Co and the Dawn Line shore, reservations at high-class establishments are often booked years or even decades in advance. In its full-issue edition on the Icebreaker, the Annamite Cultural Review rated the Gift Bronze Casino and Resort as the #1 gambling establishment in the Long Rim, citing its tasteful neo-deco architecture, attentive staff, and unrivaled wine selection. This article became a point of controversy when a disgruntled former Cultural Review employee accused its editor-in-chief of accepting extravagant bribes from Evelina Bondarchuk, the owner of the Gift Bronze. Historic Borealis. Marvel at the inner workings of Calliope's largest industrial spaceship, and relive its proud history with one of our affordable guided tours. Proof of zero-G training and signed safety waiver required. Sections of the CPS Borealis are open to the public, and some areas have been converted into exhibitions on the history of both the ship and Calliope at large. Guided tours are available for a nominal fee. Most of the ship's engineering sections are cordoned off, since its reactor and life support systems are necessary for the station's continued survival. The ship's mining laser was broken down for parts more than a century ago. Its engines, while still intact, aren't functional. A good thing, since the station likely doesn't have the structural integrity to handle acceleration. Gladiators draw and quarter. Your thirst for mech-on-mech destruction might never be sated, but we gave it our best shot at the draw and quarter. Live mech combat is far and away Calliope's favorite extreme sport, outpacing Jovian windsurfing by a wide margin. In fact, it's one of Calliope's most successful breakout industries. A vast subculture of Union citizens thirst for mech violence that isn't legal to conduct anywhere in Union space. The quarter provides. Although only the Moon Glacier League is officially native to the icebreaker, the Thunderstorm and Hellfire Leagues also hold most of their matches in the draw and quarter. This suits the Thunderstorm League just fine, since it's a joint SSC and IPSN venture handled mostly by people who don't even live in the system. On the other hand, it upsets a lot of Hellfire League fans that not a single match of the Gate's native league is actually held on Hell's Gate. By popular vote, the top 10 arenas in the quarter are the Macropolis, Lazarus, Dead Metal, Ring of Fate, All Tomorrow's Junkers, the Despair Shop, One Weird Trick Shot, House of Godhead, Don't Tell Management, and a nameless Horus-operated arena, marked only by a metaglyph that is inherently understood to mean mech fighting ring by those who read it. There's always at least a couple of league matches happening on any given day, but non-league matches and tournaments happen round the clock. The quarter's concourses never sleep, and neither do its 3 Schedule 2 printers. Rafael Baza's Bizarre Bazaar. They say, there's some things that money can't buy. We say, they should have tried the Bizarre Bazaar. There are marketplaces, malls, and shopping concourses all over the icebreaker, but by far the most prestigious is the Bizarre Bazaar. Operated by Rafael Baza, a flamboyant and eccentric member of the board. The bazaar is a colossal establishment that occupies an entire district by itself. Thousands of merchants hold court there every day, selling every conceivable thing, each paying half their profits to Baza. That's the genius of the bazaar. There's so much space that he can hand it out for free, and you only need to pay up if you break even. This leads to the bazaar's famous variety of goods and services. For more successful, ambitious, or specialized vendors, the bazaar also has a plethora of shopfronts available for rent. The average operating life of a cafe in the bazaar is 4 months. Serendipity Resort Hotel. If you want Armory executive treatment without Armory executive prices, look no further than the Serendipity Resort Hotel. Serendipity Resort Hotel? Ain't chance a funny thing? Rita hasn't paid for the PCs to stay in the pinnacle of luxury, but she hasn't stiffed them either, unless they specifically make other arrangements. She's had rooms booked for them at the Serendipity Resort Hotel, an upmarket establishment that provides tasteful comfort without breaking the bank. It has 6 bars, 2 restaurants, a gym, a sauna, and a swimming pool. While Rita is perfectly happy to pay for the PC's room and board, she's not going to be impressed if they try to expense any major cleaning or repair bills. Deepest Fairyland. Doesn't your visit deserve a little wonder? Step off the forest path and enter Deepest Fairyland. But be warned, you may not realize how much time you'll spend there. Kids admission half price. One of Evelina Bondarchuk's other crown jewels, Deepest Fairyland, is the icebreaker's largest theme park. It was originally designed to have a strict fairy tale theme, but as it expanded, it started incorporating other aesthetics as well. Its fans call it an eclectic, varied experience. Critics call it a confusing hodgepodge. Grand Aurora Amphitheater. Does your soul thirst for music? Come to the Grand Aurora Amphitheater and dance until the dawn. Witness the greatest sun at Lumi Re in the galaxy, courtesy of our roster of local DJs. Please note the Board of Icebreaker bears no responsibility for any medical complications caused by use of club drugs. As the icebreaker's largest live music venue, the Grand Aurora hosts music concerts most evenings, mostly electronic dance music. But there's the occasional live performance by hand-picked local talent as well. Uncrowned King Bear and Grill. If you're looking for the authentic down-home, long-rim tavern experience, you can find it down any number of alleyways and access corridors. Please remember that station security forces can't always guarantee a response time of less than 5 minutes. The Uncrowned King Bar and Grill is a crummy dive in the Gladiator's Draw and Quarter, with a glass back wall that looks out over the House of Godhead Arena. Dark, noisy, poorly cleaned, with flat beer and tasteless food, it's mediocre at best. But it's for this very reason Rita chooses to hold clandestine meetings with the PCs here. Being from Hell's Gate, they won't seem out of place, but no one would look for a board member here. Persons of interest. Rita. Her actual station director. If Rita has a last name, nobody ever says it out loud. A practical, calculating leader who grew up immersed in the icebreaker's ruthless politics. She looks at almost everything in her life as a problem to be solved. Despite her coldness, Rita really does have the interests of the icebreaker's people at heart. After all, someone has to. She's tall and severe, with immaculately coiffed black hair and a steely gaze. She wears a snow-white suit with lines so sharp they'd put the Terashima enclave to shame, and radiates an aura of effortless calm. Of the many weapons in her arsenal, Rita's greatest is her ability to make her goals seem beneficial to others. She knows how to make people think they came up with her schemes themselves, and she can do it without tipping her hand. These skills are essential for convincing the board to do anything, as they perceive any idea or agenda other than their own as a threat. As Rita herself would explain it, never have your own ideas. Have all of theirs for them. As an employer, Rita doesn't micromanage. She hires people who've proven their competence, tells them precisely what she wants, tells them what they need to know, and then trusts them to work out how to do it. The only thing she wants is the result she asked for, how she asked for it to be done. All other details are left to the discretion of her contractors. She always pays what she owes on time and never forgets a favor. Fayad Harb. Him. Icebreaker Tech Union Chief. Many people look at the icebreaker's glittering neon dreamscape and call it magical, and that view tends to make them think everything here happens by magic. But it doesn't. It takes thousands of man-hours of back-breaking labor every day to keep this tangled engineering nightmare running. And if you let the people up top forget it, everyone suffers. Enter people like Fayad Harb. Fayad and a few other union bosses sit on the board as a counterbalance to the executives and commercial interests that otherwise tend to dominate it. The rest of the board would dearly like to get rid of them, but the saving grace of the icebreaker is that there's so much enmity and distrust between the station's corporate elite that their anti-union initiatives are uncoordinated, scattershot, and ineffective. A short, energetic man, Fayad sports a permanent 10-day beard, missing a section directly under his chin. His black hair has a bit of silver in it, despite the fact that he doesn't look that old. He's friendly to those he trusts, but can get quite vicious with people he disapproves of. He assumes any action by the wealthier members of the board is a threat to his people, an uncharitable outlook, but rarely wrong. He refrains from drink, but smokes almost constantly, even while working. Fayad has faced criticism from other union bosses in the system for being too soft, too willing to compromise. He replies that on the icebreaker, you can't push too hard, or they'll shut you out entirely. However, a comment from Tekka Ashanafi at the last Calliope Labor Congress meeting stung him more than was intended, and he's been looking for a chance to prove himself. Kalina Morton. They slash them. Union liaison to Calliope. It took almost a century for Calliope to cross the desk of anyone at the Union Administrative Bureau. They promptly deemed it unworthy of an administrator, and fobbed the system off on the Bureau of Orbital and Non-Terrestrial Management, who sent a civilian liaison. Kylina is the 8th appointee to this position. They're empathetic and happy to listen, but they have to maintain a level of detachment for their own mental health. Every day, they hear the woes of a great many people, and they can't always help Paige. Kylina's job is difficult. Represent Union and its utopian goals in a place defined by the absence of both. Almost everyone in Calliope resents Union in some way. Many resent that there's hardship that Union hasn't fixed, but an equal number resent the idea of Union taking away Calliope's independence. There's folk out here who personally remember the days of SecCom and don't trust Union because of it, and also an unsettling few who are upset that those days are past. With that in mind, Kylina's work ethic is exemplary. It's through their tireless effort that Union assigns an aid budget to Calliope at all. The neutral omninode is an accomplishment of theirs. They got a Union Navy carrier assigned to the system, and the naysayers called it overreach, all while whining that it wasn't a full battle group page in their darker moments. They have to remind themselves, doing good is its own reward, even if nobody thanks you. Loki Valentinian. He slash him. The prodigal son. A pale youth with messy black hair, a winning smile and a twinkle of mischief in his eyes. His entire being exudes a constant, infectious energy. He never seems to be able to sit completely still, some part of his body always moving. Usually his hands, fiddling with a pen or some part of his uniform. Loki is a Harrison Armory corporal and one of the few friendly members of the Armory the PCs are likely to meet right now. If the PCs engage Loki in conversation, while he's happy to talk, he tries to avoid saying anything about himself. However, if he thinks holding back will lose the PC's trust, he'll open up a little. Speaking about his family is the only thing that dims Loki's smile. He's the son of Dr. Odin Valentinian, a prestigious armory executive and weapons designer. There was a terrible accident at the research facility during a test of one of his father's prototypes, and it claimed the life of his beloved twin brother, Baldur. Loki was devastated, blamed Odin for Baldur's death, and departed the shore entirely to get away from him. But now he's learned that his father is coming out to Calliope for some reason, and Loki definitely doesn't want to be here when he arrives. He's flirted with the idea of acting out so much the armory gives him a dishonorable discharge so he can just leave. But being the son of an executive, this is as close to impossible as something can get. Loki's prototype Sunzi is named the dancer between, and his pilot callsign is Rich Boy, imposed on him by his superior, Sergeant Hemmingson. It is, as Loki says, the only useful thing the inept bastard ever gave me. How? She slash her, reigning Hellfire League champion. A towering, muscular woman, her skin covered in tattoos of wolves and other lupine creatures. She's a regular in all three of Calliope's mech fighting circuits and reigning champion in the Hellfire League. During Act 1, at least she usually pilots a modified IPSN Blackbeard named Dread Wolf's Call. Despite theming her brand entirely around wolves, up to occasionally portraying herself as a werewolf, she sincerely believes they're mythical creatures that never actually existed, and will not believe any evidence to the contrary, up to and including footage of living wolves on dozens of core worlds. As a trans woman and a refugee from Nestor, she's become a folk hero to Nestorians, one of their own, out there in the stars, thriving despite being the exact sort of person the forefront wanted dead. She's very vocal about her heritage, and often lends her voice to the cause of the Nestorian diaspora, both in Calliope and throughout Union. When not in the cockpit, she can be found doing promotional work for her various sponsors, publicity for the outreach and aid projects she supports, or working out. Technically, she's a citizen of Hell's Gate, but her job keeps her on the icebreaker most of the year. Player characters are most likely to meet Hell if they get involved in the arena fighting, particularly if they join the Hellfire League. Unlike some of her peers in the top rankings, she's approachable and friendly, especially to those new to the sport. Joan Jones' son. She slash her. Clandestine fixer. A tourist who claims to be taking an extended holiday on the icebreaker, which has lasted about 30 years so far. Despite the fact that she doesn't seem to have a job, she never seems to be short on cash, and can be found in the station's mid-market casinos, making low-stakes wagers and sipping high-class drinks. Joan Jones' son is a fixer. This is probably one of Calliope's worst-kept secrets. If corporate or state interests in Union want something done in Calliope, but need to keep it strictly off the books, chances are they run it through Joan or one of her competitors. Joan takes the contract and shops the job around to those she thinks would be a good fit. Contrary to the common stereotype, most of these contracts don't involve violence. The vast majority are acquisition tenders involving goods of questionable legality, mining contracts for materials that corporations don't want the Union Economic Bureau to know they're buying, and information gathering exercises for intelligence organizations with no assets in the system. That said, wet work isn't off the table, although as a matter of professional courtesy, fixers such as Joan's son never offer contracts against each other. Joan Jones' son is far from the only such fixer in Calliope, but she's one of the most popular, largely due to her reliability and confidentiality. She's notorious for never letting operators know who they're working for, but also for never letting clients know who's working for them. Anyone who accepts a contract from her can rest easy in the knowledge that they won't become a loose end. Evelina Bondarchuk. She slash her, owner of the Gift Bronze Casino. A regal woman with a taste for elegant and complex dresses. She's never seen without a cigarette in a long holder, but never seems to actually light or smoke it. She spent years cultivating an air of mystery and allure, largely just to see if she could. She's uninterested in actual intimacy or romantic involvement. As a casino proprietor and a member of the board, Evelina is no stranger to secrets and intrigue. She's a master at navigating the icebreaker's brutal, cutthroat politics, but she has an extra card up her sleeve. She's thrown in with Ignatius Aurum and the inner cult. Evelina's primary advantage is that she possesses all the strengths of a board member and few of their usual weaknesses. She has immense wealth, prestige, and access, and she's intimately familiar with how to navigate the short-sighted greed and vicious social games of the other board members. But she's no longer in a chaotic free-for-all. She has a definite goal and allies whom she can trust. The reverse is not true. Evelina has no loyalty to the cult and doesn't believe in their hokey religion. All she knows is that the cult will cause absolute chaos on the icebreaker. That will be bad for business in the short term, but it might just give her the leverage she needs to unseat her longtime rival, Rita, and seize control of the directorship for herself. Gabriel Sparrow. He slash him. Local philanthropist. Gabriel Sparrow is a wealthy socialite known across the system for leading and donating to a plethora of charitable foundations. Many children in the poorest, smallest habitats are able to read because of his educational outreach programs. Many families are fed by his food aid funds. He's often seen around Calliope, holding fundraisers, giving speeches, and engaging in backroom negotiations. The extent of public knowledge about him is limited. He speaks in an accent that seems almost designed to be unplaceable. His wealth is understood to have come from his family, but nobody knows who they are. He's well educated but doesn't have a specific field of expertise. He's affable and charming, but in a distant, detached sort of way. He's a member of the board, but usually stays out of the fiercest squabbles. To those in the know, however, Sparrow is someone very different. He is Carakin nobility, born Gabriel Altia of the House of Stone, and designed down to the genetic level by SSC as the perfect heir. This was not a life he felt particularly interested in living, so he went into self-imposed exile in the Long Rim. He now runs the local cell of the Ungratefuls, and most are struck by how genuinely he seems to care for Calliope. He acts as both spymaster and financier, combining his family's immense wealth and banking connections and his labyrinthine network of charitable foundations to move large sums of money or data without trace. Those fortunate enough to gain a private audience with him may take advantage of these resources. But unlike his humanitarian work, his professional services do not come without a price tag. Clariana Rowdley. Her. Incognito Knight of the Dark Core. To Icebreaker Mutual Security Command. From Office of the Station Director. Timestamp 16:30 CST February 1st, 5016. Subject: Clariana Rowdley. Some of you have asked for clarification on this subject. So, no, the Icebreaker Mutual Security Policy does not permit known members of pirate organizations to be present on the Icebreaker Borealis. Rowdley has never caused any actual security issue. Allegations that she serves as a point of contact for criminal elements have never been substantiated. She is a valued customer of several board establishments, including Smith Shimano Atelier, and is the fifth highest individual spender on this station. It is thus the position of the board that Rowdley is not a known member of a pirate organization, and any statements she makes to the contrary are merely the boasts of a rich poseur trying to generate an air of mystique. To Clariana Rowdley. From Office of the Station Director. Timestamp 16:35 CST2/1/5016. Subject: Tab closed. Settle your accounts. There. Everyone's favorite back channel to the Knights of the Dark Core is safe from scrutiny until your next public incident. Next time you decide to get high and brag about your space lane robberies in a crowded casino, you can square it with IMSEC. I am neither your errand girl nor a miracle worker. I refuse to keep covering for you. Additional NPCs. On the Icebreaker, you can meet almost anyone if you walk down the right concourse. Here are some of them. Rosalind Taylor, a mercenary who's seen dozens of conflicts over the past 2 centuries, taking a long layover on her way to the Dawn Line shore, which she feels confident is going to be the next meal ticket for freelance mech pilots. She's seen her fair share of injury. Both her original eyes are replaced with prosthetics, among other things, and every scar comes with a story, which she's more than happy to relate if someone else is buying the drinks. Irvin Reed. If you've tuned into Icebreaker Public Radio, you've heard Irvin Reed. His voice could melt butter, and in defiance of radio tradition, he looks exactly like he sounds: tall, dark, handsome, and settling into middle age with practiced dignity. With Rita's help, he's kept IPR mostly free of corporate influence for more than 30 years and is one of her closest allies. Smith Johnson. Smith Johnson is the highest-ranking IPSN employee in Calliope, a punishment far beyond simple reassignment to Calliope, which happens to any number of IPSN staff who underperform. Smith is now responsible for all of these rejects. Paunchy, middle-aged and balding. Smith is never without a fearsome array of data plating to keep them abreast of whatever new disaster has been thrown at them. Subtext is for cowards. An argumentative philosopher who got stuck on the Icebreaker when their colony ship left without them for some reason. Subtext makes a living giving philosophy lectures, as they, allegedly, have teaching qualifications. While their debate style is often needlessly aggressive, they make a compelling point about how a lot of academic philosophy has become navel-gazing bullshit that's lost touch with the day-to-day struggles people in the real-world experience. Ishihara Yaeko, a painter suffering from a years-long artistic block, which she came to the long rim to escape. She's searching for new inspiration, and if any of the PCs capture her attention, she'll begin asking about their experiences in search of a new muse. If she gets to know a PC, she'll share something personal. Ever since she came to Calliope, she's been having recurring nightmares of cradling her wife, while she's dying from a gunshot wound. Just one problem: she is not and has never been married. Caspian Trist, an oddments dealer who can be found in Raphael Bazaar most days. Nobody knows what they actually look like. They hide their face under a cowl and a mask that resembles a muzzle. Their inventory changes daily, but they have a particular interest in collecting old books. Yelda Ergun. Wait, the Yelda Ergun? From Yelda and the Minesweepers? The pop sensation that swept musical awards 5 albums running? The multi-instrumentalist virtuoso whose posters graced the bedroom walls of half the teenagers in Union? What's she doing working as a barista in a crummy cafe in the Long Rim? Well, she says, burnout's a motherfucker. Add in a control freak manager, an argument with a bandmate that turned violent, the paparazzi, and a literal cult of obsessive stalkers. Well, running away became less about luxury and more about necessity. Now, can she please take your order? 1516 RAT pierced in every place you can imagine. And he assures you, some you can't. Covered in tattoos, with his dyed any number of colors, rat cuts, and imposing figure despite his short stature. He originally turned to sex work to cover the cost of his gender confirmation surgery, but found that not only did he enjoy the profession, there were a lot of people in it who needed solidarity. Sex work on the icebreaker has never been easy, but at least if you ask little rat boy for help, he can make certain problems, like abusive clients or pushy debt collectors, go away. Anthony Callahan, a scruffy man with long brown hair and a green spiral tattooed around his left eye. He wears a bullet on a chain around his neck, speaks in an older dialect of Union Common, and has the haunted, suspicious look of someone on the run from something. Always wears a fingerless glove on his left hand, apparently to conceal something. He makes a living doing magic shows in the casinos, and his tricks are very impressive. Some of them genuinely seem to be impossible. In between, a machine mind operating out of a customized subaltern frame resembling a goat devil, allegedly patterned off a hyperviolent cartoon character found in the massive archives. Its motives and intentions are inscrutable, but it usually seems to be causing some kind of mild trouble, stealing small objects, rerouting power, illegally accessing secure terminals, or menacing strangers with a cartoon hammer. Daily life. Life on the icebreaker is defined by a sharp divide, whether you're a visitor or a resident. Money. If you have money, the icebreaker is open to you. If you don't, it's a daunting and unkind place. A lot of people who've been to the icebreaker speak of it in the same terms. It's a lovely place to visit, but it looks like a hard place to live. They're right. It takes a lot of money to live comfortably here, and most people don't earn enough to stay in comfort for long. Sure, there are parts of the icebreaker where a poor person can live, but it's not much of a life. The board really only cares for the bits of the station that the visitors are likely to see, and as far as they're concerned, their workers' quality of life is their own problem. High-quality services, be they food, housing, or medical care, all come with a steep price tag. Still, the icebreaker does need its menial workers, and it's not like they can commute from somewhere else. Since she became station director, Rita has done her best to ensure some basic services for the less fortunate. It's not much, but it still manages to be better than what Hell's Gate can provide, most of the time. The icebreaker's local currency is icicles. circular, transparent plastic coins made to look like ice, bearing the stylized image of Kalevala on one side and the Board of Icebreakers logo on the other. They're infused with glitter to draw attention and make putting them on the line at a casino look impressive. The denomination of an icicle is marked numerically, although they also vary in color and sparkle. To prevent counterfeiting, each icicle contains a unique RFID chip page in addition to icicles. The icebreaker also accepts mana, corporate state scrip, and various currencies from diasporan worlds. It accepts Hell's Gate ingots, although at a poor exchange rate to icicles. It was recently forced to accept Impact Plaza's new steel bars at an artificially favorable exchange rate, with the implication being that Impact Dynamics would raise rates on essential foodstuffs if they didn't. The station functions on Cradle Standard Time, with a 12-hour day and 12-hour night. Kalevala orbits so far from Calliope star that daylight is provided by massive floodlights mounted on the Borealis hull. A lot of the starstrip exists under permanent night because it looks sexier that way. Scenes from the icebreaker. Neon billboards the size of skyscrapers shine their gaudy messages into space. Each one consumes enough power to run a hab block for a month. A street comedian does an unflattering impression of John Creighton Harrison, to gales of laughter from the public. A colonial legionnaire in the crowd is getting visibly angrier as the act goes on, which only encourages the impersonator. A scalper offers tickets to a Moon Glacier League mech fight that's happening later this afternoon. The prices he's charging are outrageous. Station security attempts to clear away a small group of panhandlers, and would clearly be getting more violent if they weren't being watched. A croupier leans against a junction box, clutching a coffee in trembling hands, clearly trying not to cry. They look completely exhausted. A street food vendor sells hot burritos and cheap coffee from their cart. Every so often, they throw a nervous glance at a burly man leaning on a nearby wall. There's a solemn affair going on at a bar. Initially, you think it's a wake for a deceased person, but they're alive and here at the gathering. They finally got enough money to leave Calliope for good, and the event feels like a wake because none of these people are ever going to see the departing person face to face again. There's a minor commotion as a member of the board is escorted somewhere by a cadre of heavily armed private security. They're very aggressive with anyone who gets too close. A line of show dancers prance and high kick at the opening of some special event a casino is holding. Their outfits are ridiculous. Somehow, they seem to be scanty and overdressed at the same time. In the shadows of an alleyway, there's a glint as icicles change hands. A small package is passed in return. Although you can't see their faces clearly, you realize both parties have noticed you, and they hastily depart in opposite directions. Going shopping. The icebreaker Borealis boasts what is quite possibly the foremost shopping experience in the known universe. Free from union oversight, almost anything can be bought and sold here. In particular, Rafael Baza's Bizarre Bazaar is a marketplace the size of an entire district.